Welcome to the Childcare Directors Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Sacoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Childcare Directors Chair.
Hey guys, it's Erica here with the Childcare Directors Chair Podcast. And if you can't tell by my voice, it is a little weak today, so bear with me. I don't have my usual ready-to-go voice, but that's okay. I do have a question for you, though. What if the reason so many children struggle to read isn't because they can't learn, but because we're asking them to learn in ways that their bodies were never designed for? What if literacy wasn't meant to live in worksheets, but in the wiggles and the stomps and the songs and the giggles? Today, we're talking about why movement and literacy don't just belong together, but they depend on each other. Because children don't experience the world by sitting still. They experience it through their bodies. And if we want reading to stick, then we have to teach it that way with some movement. So welcome to the podcast, guys. I would love to introduce our guest today, Patrick. He's from Active Alphabet. Him and his wife started this company. And I'm going to give him a few minutes to tell us a little bit about their story and how they ended up here.
Great. Well, Erica, first of all, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be on your show, your podcast. It's the first one that we've done, and thrilled to be here. So I currently own and operate a preschool on the southwest side of Chicago. Before that, I was a preschool teacher, along with some other roles and things. And when I was teaching preschool, I was looking for active ways to teach the alphabet and found some way to do it in which children were on their feet and moving, no worksheets. I wanted everybody to be able to participate, have fun, and move their bodies while they were doing it. So I developed some form of what became the Active Alphabet over the last 10 plus years. We've been refining it with other schools and in different classrooms. But the basis for it is every letter has a character and emotion associated with it. So A, angry ant, and then you stomp your feet and you say all the way to Z, zipping zebra. So being a preschool teacher, I saw firsthand how well it worked. All of my students were able to grasp the individual letters, uppercase, lowercase, and the sounds, all while having fun. My wife joined me as a partner recently to formalize it. We created an animation through an animation studio, but our daughter, our 9-year-old daughter, is the voiceover for it. So I hope that you can share the video with everybody so that they can see it. There's also a video of myself doing an example lesson of the Active Alphabet with one of the classrooms from my preschool. So I believe that's the answer to your question. I can clarify anything that you would like. But yes, continue with your questions and I'll fill in the gaps.
So why do you believe that movement and literacy belong together in the first place? What made you come up with that? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't necessarily figure it out before trying. I just tried and saw the success of it. But research does show that children, when they're using their whole bodies, it activates different parts of their brains and it helps them to remember and associate things a lot better. But it's very easy to be in any classroom and see that children need to move. They need to move their bodies, some more than others, but they all need to move. It aids in anything that you want to teach. In fact, I'm sitting down right now and wish that I had a standing desk and I was able to move, because I think we all benefit from moving.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say when you think of reading, like a lot of people might think of it as like a brain only activity, but we know that neuroscience tells us, how the body supports that literacy development and everything is connected. So yeah, I agree that movement certainly would be one way to reinforce, right? Because you're not just saying it, you're doing it, you're making a movement. So it's very hands-on. In early childhood classrooms, we sometimes see movement as a distraction. Can you talk to folks a little bit about that? Because I know that there are some teachers who are just like, sit down, sit down, sit down. Pay
So
attention, I'm teaching here.
at the Castle Preschool in Chicago, we
Yeah.
are engagement over compliance. We use a curriculum called Tools of the Mind, in which they say voices on, minds on. If you were to come into one of our classrooms, you would see that children are not expected to be crisscross applesauce, bubbles in their mouth. Like, we want to hear their voices, and we give them the room to move when they need to. And it's super important to allow them to move those bodies. So there's as much testosterone pumping through a 4-year-old boy as there is a pre-pubescent boy. So, like, get them moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you think, or when do you think, like, that disconnect, from that idea of like that movement was essential to learning? Like, how did we come up with like everybody had to sit down? Where do you think that came from? Where that disconnect came from?
Years and generations of teaching. And if I had to guess, back after World War II, when there's 60 kids in a classroom,
Yeah.
teachers needed compliance. Otherwise,
Yeah.
nobody was going to learn. Whether or not that is the case, it's a learned trait by many teachers that
Sure.
children should be crisscross applesauce and quiet. But I would argue that that is counterproductive and that they're
Sure.
tuning you out.
Yeah.
So, and when you allow kids to move or speak out loud, their minds are on, and they're not just waiting for somebody to call on them or waiting to say an answer, or they're actively engaged in the material.
Yeah. So do you only use this movement model when you're teaching literacy, or do you use that through other domains as well?
Children are moving all throughout the day. When we're transitioning through in the hallway, waiting for the bathrooms, we have things that they can engage with. We have custom carpets on our floor that they're jumping on and playing games on. We are using the active alphabet in many ways throughout the day. One of those ways being
Yeah.
transitions. So it's like, all right, everybody, let's boxing bear to the bathroom. So the kids are boxing all the way to the bathroom, and we're outside as well, tons and tons. So
Yeah.
giving them that opportunity to move their bodies.
Yeah. So do you have your own children in the preschool?
I have 3 children. As I mentioned, my oldest did the voiceover for the animation,
Yeah.
and then my youngest is still in the school. So, yeah, and they have been experiencing the active alphabet all of their entire lives. I would do it to my older 2 when I was changing their diapers, and they loved that as well because they're hearing these different sounds. So I would just be saying the active alphabet, and they would just find it so enjoyable. So it's really it's to expose children at an early age as well, not expecting them. We weren't never expecting them to learn, but it was giving them those sounds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I figured, I have kids of my own, they've grown up through the program, but I figured that, usually when we have these ideas, we like test them out on our children. So I figured that would be a good question. I'm like, I can see his kids now walking through the house doing angry.
there has been many iterations of all of
I'm
the
sure.
characters, truly.
Yeah.
And so both input from my family as well as from the teachers in the school have helped get it to a final place that we're very happy with, and that
Yeah.
just works.
Can you share an example of what it looks like when children embody literacy instead of just memorizing it? Because, a lot of times that flashcard, we're just, they're memorizing, oh, that's an A, but they can't, figure out the sounds when they open up a book. Can you
Sure.
share an
Well,
example?
of
Yeah.
course, reading opens up a whole new world, and the kids in the preschool are ready to read and reading and working on some more advanced, some CVC letters and things. But we try to focus on having a strong foundation for when they go to kindergarten. When they go to kindergarten, they're ready for almost first grade, doing it in a fun way. But that light bulb shows up. And whether or not they've just learned how to form the letter A, or whether they realize that if I use those sounds that we've been learning, I can actually read a word. And so it's brilliant to see that clicking for them.
Yeah. So how does movement especially support multi-language learners or children with ADHD or kinesthetic learners or just students who struggle with traditional phonics instruction?
I would guess that children that are struggling with learning their letters or their letter sounds may have only been exposed to one or two ways of teaching. There are many different ways that children learn. I think I would argue that all children are capable of learning through movement, but there are some children especially that need that movement to fire those brain cells and associate the meaning of these abstract letters and sounds. So I'm not sure about the dual language aspect, but ADHD and children that have some self-regulation skills, like needs, are definitely benefiting from this. And it is really another tool in your toolbox that everybody should be using. And it's just super
Sure.
fun. The children genuinely enjoy it and have a lot of fun. And
Uh,
that's before we could, that's half the battle, right? If you are
yeah.
engaging children in something that they want and enjoy doing, they're going to learn a lot faster than if you tell
Yeah.
them to sit down and try to memorize anything. It's going to counterproductive. So we're sneaking in the learning without them really realizing that they're learning.
Yeah. So I know that you have the video on YouTube and you have some free downloads. Have you thought of, I know your daughter does the voiceover for one video. Have you ever thought of doing a second video with somebody voicing over in Spanish?
Spanish is something that we want to build out completely.
Yeah.
And we're really in the infancy of this. What we have rolled out is a free way for teachers to engage with this system. If you visit our website, you're able to pull all of the characters and the character cards. You can get some other resources that will be sensory and help with other ways to engage children, but it's really open-ended for right now. And teachers can take this system and use it in countless ways. And that's what we want to start. We are working on Spanish. We're working on building out a full curriculum.
When children like learning and it's fun, they want to learn more. And I also think it helps build confidence because they feel more successful when they're able to do things that they enjoy, and then they will continue to seek out opportunities to learn, I think, is what happens when kids love learning. And that's the biggest part, is to get them to like it, to have them engage, have a voice, like you had said earlier, have a voice in it. I wish I had one of those kids' voices right now. This is a conversation that we actually are having this week in class. I'm in a master's class for curriculum and instruction. And this is a conversation that we were having. And I do think that we're lucky when we're in the early childhood space. We do have a little bit more autonomy. And I think what happens is when teachers are teaching in, middle school and high school, they have the standardized test and they have all of these, check marks that they've got to tick off that we don't have necessarily. I mean, milestones and things like that, but we have a lot more autonomy than they do have as you start to move up the grade levels, particularly if you're working in a public school. But it is really hard to be a teacher right now. So we definitely have to acknowledge that. But I do agree that teachers who have great relationships with kids and teachers who can find ways to get kids engaged and to love what they're learning about, that's the secret. That's definitely the secret. All right, guys. So those of you who are listening, if this conversation resonated with you, or if you felt that tension between what research says and what classrooms actually look like, then you need to be at the Early Education Empowerment Conference this May, the May 7th, 8th, and 9th. It's not just another sit and get professional development day. This is a space for leaders, for teachers, and change makers who believe literacy should be research aligned, instruction should be developmentally appropriate, and learning should feel joyful. we're bringing together educators who are all ready to take on the challenge of that status quo and build something better. So tickets are available now, seats are limited, and if you're serious about transforming your early learning programs, then you need to grab your ticket. And thank you so much, Patrick, for being on the show. The link will be below in the show notes for the video that we reference in the podcast. Also, check out Patrick's and his wife's website at Active Alphabet. And check it out. Look at the resources. How do they give you feedback on your website? Is there an email or? Yeah. Patrick, and you did say it's free at this point. It's free. So there's, guys, there's nothing worse than not trying something that's free, especially if it's something that can help you, help your students. So really, I tell you all, head on over to his website, check it out. They would love to connect with you. That's it for today, guys. As always, have a great day.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Childcare Directors Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Sacosio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.